had never taken absinthe before, and I lost my fucking mind. I was so deranged and just crazy that I think I cut the set short. Like, I got through the set, but at the end it was really starting to peak, and I cut the set short, and on the last song, I convinced myself that if I just break all my strings as I'm playing, we'll stop playing, we can't play anymore. So I commenced to play as hard as I've ever played to the point that I was bleeding, to break all the strings on my guitar mid through song, and that was it. I walked off stage, just deranged and insane, like almost to the point of tears.
Hello, welcome to 3 Gigs, the podcast that tells the stories of 3 shows that have had a profound effect on a performer's life and career. Their very first show, their best show, and their worst show. I'm your host, Dominic Davy, and today my guests are Arturo Barrios and Jason Camacho from the band Audio Karate. This episode of 3 Gigs is brought to you by FreshCleanTees.com. It works like a shave club, but they send you t-shirts, super awesome t-shirts. And they have a special offer for all the listeners of 3 Gigs. Save 20% off your first order by going to FreshCleanTees.com and entering the coupon code GIG at checkout. That's FreshCleanTees.com with offer code GIG. Audio Karate originally formed in 1995 out of Rosemead, California, and were originally known as the Goons. But they quickly built a loyal following, and in 2001 they signed to Kung Fu Records and released their debut album Space Camp in 2002. And that's when I met them. We were label mates and we would go on to play a lot of shows together, and our bands really became close. After touring around the world, they released a fantastic sophomore album, Lady Melody, in 2004, and after a near non-stop tour schedule in support of it, the band would finally go on vacation in 2005, which, of course, ended up being the end of the band. However, the band would morph into a new band called Indian School for a number of years. But Audio Karate has resurfaced this year following the reissue of their first album, Space Camp, in a partnership between Kung Fu Records, Wiretap Records, and Hidden Home Records. The limited edition electric blue vinyl version sold out in pre-sale almost immediately, and they are following that up with a series of West Coast dates with the Descendants in May and October, as well as an appearance on this year's Fest in Florida. So Audio Karate is back, and nobody is happier than I am. I spent a lot of time on the road with these guys, and they are a great band and a great group of people. If you haven't checked them out before, you will not be sorry. Thankfully, vocalist-guitarist Arturo Barrios and guitarist Jason Camacho had some time to talk with me about a few of their adventures, starting with Art's first show.
So my first show, I believe I was 14, and it was actually with my shitty band that didn't have a drummer. We were trying to get Gabe in the band, but he had what ended up being Audio Karate, which was the band called the Goons back then. And we were practicing at the show together, like at this like abandoned house that we figured, hey, it's abandoned, we might as well have a punk show here. So basically, I was like filling in for Audio Karate as their singer, because their singer at the time had like really strict religious parents. Basically, the day of, they're like, hey, our singer can't go. His like mom said no, and they're like, Art, you've been singing with us, can you do it? And I was like 14. I hadn't gone through puberty yet, and I barely knew their songs. So I basically just winged it on like 6-7 songs and just made up just phonetics and gibberish just to get through the set. I had never sung like in my life, and that was my first show. And so I thought it went pretty well, like, you know what I mean? Like, the crowd was into it, people were pitting. And after the show, the like resident punk band of that area where we grew up in Rosemead, this band called PFR, which stood for Punk Fucking Rocks. You know they were cool, right? The singer comes up to me and he said, "Hey kid," he's like, "don't let this get to your fucking head, but you're a little badass." I'm like, "Oh, cool, thanks." I never forgot that. That was like my first vote of confidence. Like, oh, okay, maybe I do know what I'm doing.
That's awesome. Especially since you actually stood up. Especially since you stood up and sang gibberish. That's kind of amazing, too. Like, right on the spot, like, I'm just going to make noise.
I said, fuck it, yeah, I'm going to make this work. There's nothing else that's going to work here, so let's just do this, yeah.
That's
like
pretty
the
cool.
Tom York of backyard, of Mexican backyard function for one night.
That's awesome. All right. What about you, Jason? What was your first?
My first in the band was Justo and Gabriel's sequel. I'm 1 year younger than everyone, so when we think back in terms of like high school, that's a huge deal because you think like, oh, you were a class of '99 while I was 2000. So those guys were all graduating from Rosemead High. At least Justo and Gabriel were, and they had a talent show, and we played senior year, and that was my very first show. And like Justo and Gabe were jocks and on the football team, so a bunch of the guys from the football team wore shirts that had the letters Goons, which is what Audio Karate was called at the time, and they did like a synchronized dance, which sounds really horrible, but it was actually super cool. And it was like a Freddie Prinze Jr. like high school movie where everyone was fucking cheering, and like the PE coach was dancing because he loved the guys because they were jocks, and it was super super cool. And we didn't win, and I forget who we lost to. We lost to like it was like a acapella group. I think that did like a Boys to Men song and made everybody cry. That's right. That's what we lost to. But our song was original. Yeah, we had an original song. Yeah.
Oh, that's messed up. So you joined the band a little bit later then?
I did.
Yeah.
And I was always kind of a hang-around just because Gabe and I are family, and we're kind of all family, but it wasn't until the guy that was playing guitar with kind of went through some stuff, and he moved out to like the Inland Empire and sort of dropped off the planet. And it was like, hey guys, I know the song, so yeah, sure you do, Dick, shut up. And then with like 2 weeks notice, all right, you want to jump in? I was like, yeah, okay. I've been waiting for this, and it worked out.
That's awesome. So wait, so you're a year younger than everybody. Art, you said you were 14 when you stepped up. How much older was everyone else, or was everybody 14 at that time when you did that show?
Well, we were all 14. So me,
Okay.
Justo, and Gabe, who were in the Goons and became Art Barrios, were all the same age. But yeah, the punk scene that we were in was all older. We were the youngest. We were the smallest and the youngest. So yeah, we were all the same age, but everybody was bigger than us.
Okay, I get that. So interesting. So like the Goons or Audio Karate version 1.0, that's pretty much your guys' first band for both of you.
Yeah, and for me, my only. And really, the way I think about it, and certainly playing again now, I don't think I could ever or would even really want to play guitar with anyone else.
That's
if that makes any kind of sense. Yeah,
no, it does.
It just doesn't appeal to me at all.
But it's interesting that now that you're bringing it back, like this is like, I mean, Art's done a couple other things since, but like, and you're saying like this is pretty much your only band. It's interesting like that this has really just become your focus. In a lot of ways, you guys didn't get to meet her because she had just left right before we met you. Oubliette, our keyboard player, who started Tsunami Bomb with me, she was in like another band kind of before she joined Tsunami Bomb, but not for very long. And she joined when she was like 16 years old is when we started. She was 16. She was younger than the rest of us when we started the band. But it's pretty much her only band. And she kind of says it's kind of the only band she's going to do. Like, that's it. Tsunami Bomb is her band. Like, we're talking about doing other projects for fun, but really it's like, it's Tsunami Bomb is kind of her focus too. So it's not completely unknown to me, that kind of, you know, and at least for me, I don't know if this is for the same with you, Art, but at least for me, like with Tsunami Bomb, like that, I've done a lot of other things, but there's just something about Tsunami Bomb, that band, that kind of has a
It's like
place.
It's like your firstborn. You know what I mean? It's like your first thing that you really kind of give birth to. So it's always kind of got a special place. It'll never be replaced. You know what I mean? So it has that. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Like I have kids out of wedlock and shit. You know what I mean? But that's like the one kid that was like, okay.
No, I understand. It's kind of a feeling. You kind of have just sort of a special feeling to it, and it's funny, Jason, because like I would say Oubliette is a lot like how you look at it, where it's like, this is my band, this is the band I do, and she might do other things and other projects now. I'm trying to convince her to do other stuff with me, but like this is pretty much her focus. And I know she's kind of expressed she's not going to do anything else, and she didn't really do much between. So yeah, it's interesting. Well, awesome. Okay, so that's a great story of the first show. So what was one of the best shows? You said you guys actually agreed what one of the best shows was.
Well, let's have a different one. Yeah, my best show was Manchester. What year would that have been? 2003? Yeah, it was when the Ataris were supporting So Long Astoria, and they took us along. And they were, like, at their height. Like, they were huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was... So you remember, we did Manchester with Vandals and Tsunami Bomb, and that was a big room. When we went back to do the university for that Atari show, dude, it was like 2,500, right? Sold out? It was 2,500. And yeah, wow. And the room just seemed so much bigger and gnarlier. I mean, that would be a conservative estimate. Like, standing up there, it looked stupid. Yeah, like you could see the first 1,500 people and the last 1,000 were like covered in like darkness. You couldn't see how far back it went.
Yeah, it
was just
on.
Nuts. A mass of like British humanity. It was nuts. And we weren't there because we had gone prior, and Nintendo 89 was doing stuff over there on MTV2 and had gotten like a little bit of airplay. I mean, we were doing okay, so it wasn't like we played to 2,500 Ataris fans. It was like 500-600 kids in the front who were just going off. Yeah. And I remember Art and I, after sound check, it kind of dawned on us like, this is probably the biggest show we're ever going to do. And we got really scared, and we just started walking around Manchester drinking a bottle of Jack Daniels, which we finished before we hit the stage. It was a super bad idea. So we hit the stage, and I fell down at one point during a solo for some song, and I was able to kind of play it off and recover. But I remember reading press after the fact when we got back to the States. It was like, yeah, Ataris were great. This new record's awesome. Audio Karate, seen them before. Really good songs. I don't know what happened that night, though. Like, it looked like they might have been enjoying themselves too much.
Oh, but, that's hilarious.
That show that show was something now. Yeah.
I have a lot of people on the podcast, actually, who have played overseas. It's kind of a running theme. If they've toured Europe, they inevitably say one of the European shows was one of the best. And it's interesting that happens so often. Because, I mean, I've had a lot of great shows in the U.S., but even I have to say some of my European shows were kind of insane. So, I just, you kind of wonder what's different, what that difference is. But it's hard.
Yeah. I don't know. And then I'd say maybe the close runner-up would also be a UK thing. London, we went back for a small headline tour, and Piebald supported us on a sold-out London show. There's probably like 500 people in the room, but it's fucking going nuts. Like jumping on the stage, and like we're playing with 15 people standing on the stage. It's like, okay, guys, need a little bit of room here. Like, get down.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're talking about going to the UK again, maybe next year, and it would be fun. You guys should go. Yeah, we should all go.
Dude, we're in. We're in. I think. Yeah, I think that could happen.
I'm not joking. We could totally do that.
I mean, certainly as we're kind of doing stuff again now, it's pretty cool doing it under the guise of like, we don't need to make this the only thing we do, but there are certain things now on our terms, and it's like, okay, we got to go back to UK, we got to go back to Japan. Like, I'll miss a week of work, whatever. That has to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, we're the same. But okay.
We're going to UK. That's going to happen.
I mean, dude, I want to go to the UK so bad. Like, I loved it playing out there, and like some of my favorite memories are wandering around with you guys. Yeah. I don't know. I'll never forget like just even the Europe, like just when we went to Amsterdam, like that whole ridiculousness of that day was awesome. Like everything was stupid.
There's a reason you can't remember that.
It's probably for the best. It's probably for the best.
Yeah. I'm sure it was fun.
I was wasted. Like Amsterdam was one where everybody just got fucked up. So
I think everybody was annihilated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. Well, back to the podcast. Okay, so that's definitely one of the best shows that you guys have played. That's in your runner-up there. Okay. What would be one of the worst shows that you ever played, or a couple worst shows?
Okay, I'll lead on this one because I don't think it was even that bad of a show in the conventional sense, but I've never felt worse after a show. We played somewhere. It was definitely Midwest. I want to say Kansas in like an off city. So not even like Lawrence or somewhere kind of cool, Topeka or, something like that. It was somewhere funky, and it was a little bar, and there was maybe like 6 people. And at one point I was just so over it, and we're like very deep into a tour that had some good shows and some not so good ones. And I just said, screw it. I'm just going to lean against the wall with my fucking foot against it and play. And I played like half the set like that. And I was getting dagger eyes from Art the entire time. And no sooner than like, yeah, hey, thank you, we're out of karate, so-and-so is playing next. He like stormed off, ran at me. I was like, don't ever fucking do that again. I was like, okay. I mean,
I don't actually remember that.
I remember that. That was like a significant emotional event, only because I was like, dude, I don't think you've ever been that angry at me about anything in our collective lives. And we've known each other, probably like a decade at the time. Mm-hmm. And it kind of turned me on though. I was like, dude, you do get fired up about stuff. Like, cool. I've got my threshold. Some fight out of you. But that one sucked. Yeah,
that would piss me off though. That makes sense. I'm like, yeah, I draw the line there. That would make me mad.
Yeah. It's funny how tours do that to you. It just sort of burns you out, and it's just like you're just like, oh god, I can't stand it. And then depending on how you react to it, that'll set somebody else off. That's something that Mike and I talked about, as how we set each other off on a tour once, where his attitude led to stuff, and then I got mad at him for being that way, and then he got mad at me for being mad at him, and then it was just like, ugh.
Yeah, it becomes divisive, and then you look outward like, what? Who? So you're not going to back me up on this? Well, fuck you too. You're with him, and it gets bad, and it takes a couple of days where it's like, okay, who are we kidding? Like, we can't escape. It's over. We'll buy you some ho-hos.
That's what I should have done. I should have bought some ho-hos. That would definitely be a good. All right, let's not fight anymore. Here's some ho-hos.
Universal icebreaker there. What was your worst?
Actually, when you said that, it reminded me of what really was my worst show of all time. It was the same, the tour in England when we did that show in London. I can't remember the city. Maybe you can remember. But I took Absinthe. Remember, it was on 2 floors, and we played on the upper floor. I don't remember if it was Sheffield. It was a smaller city. It was a good show, in terms of turnout. But I took Absinthe before the show. I'd never taken Absinthe before, and I lost my fucking mind. I was so deranged and just crazy that I think I cut the set short. I got through the set, but at the end it was really starting to peak, and I cut the set short, and on the last song, I convinced myself that if I just break all my strings as I'm playing, we'll stop playing. We can't play anymore. So I commenced to play as hard as I've ever played, to the point that I was bleeding, to break all the strings on my guitar mid through song, and that was it. I walked off stage just deranged and insane, almost to the point of tears. It was fucked up. I've never had Absinthe again. I never will. It was a nightmare.
Oh man.
Remember the show? Don't remember the city, and despite your trip, it wasn't a bad show. We did well. And
yeah, I think it was an okay show. I was just dying inside. Yeah.
How much absinthe did you drink?
I think a lot. I think they were like, I think they said you're supposed to take like a thimble's worth, and I'm like, whatever. And I had already been drinking. And I think I had a few. I think I had more than a thimble. I had a few little like small shots to the point that it was too late, and I'm like, oh my god, what am I feeling? Like it was all bordering on hallucination. Like it was gnarly.
Yeah, because you were drinking the real stuff, like the real absinthe, not like what we get here. That's like watered down.
No, it was
no. You were drinking the real shit.
Real absinthe, yeah. Never again. Real or not real.
Oh my god. There you go. Well, wow.
Yeah.
All right, but okay, those are great stories. But what happened in Buffalo?
Okay, so Buffalo, that was your guys' we were supporting you guys for a definitive act. I want to say Lawrence Arms played that night. It was like a skate park. You remember that?
Okay, go on. I
no,
don't.
You don't remember. The show itself was good.
Good show, yeah.
Yeah, what wasn't particularly memorable, but there were these two kids. I call them kids, but they were getting ready to go to college. So they're like 18-year-old kids, 6'2", 240. They were like going to play on football scholarships, and because we wrote songs about high school football, and some of that, they're like, hey, you guys are like jock pop punkers. Like we're into that. Do you guys have anywhere to stay? And it was Buffalo, and it was snowing. We're like, no, we had no money. You guys could come crash at our place. So we end up going back, and it looked like there was like a tattoo shop and like storefronts on the bottom, and then apartments up top.
Mm.
So as we're approaching, one of the kids says, "Ah, shit, I think my dad's drinking."
And we could hear guitar, like blues riffs, off in the distance, like towards the inside the house. We could hear somebody playing guitar, like kind of roughly. We're like, what?
Yeah, so we kind of like, hey, should we, back off? No, it'll be okay. But yeah, my dad hasn't drank in like decades because he was, I guess, a recovering alcoholic. And he had relapsed the night that we stayed there.
Oh, no.
So you enter the apartment through a bedroom. There's like a 5 or 6-year-old kid sleeping on the bed, and there's a rifle on the floor. I'm like, okay, that's odd, but we don't have money for a room. It's super cold outside. I don't want to sleep in the van, and we'll make the best of it. So we go in, and Dad has like a flat top, and he's like a ginger. So he's got like the ginger flat top and the mustache, and he's wearing like a salmon-colored polo shirt and like acid-faded tight jeans where you could tell like in the 80s he was all about the rock and roll.
Wow.
And he's got a guitar, and there's like an empty
ball of vodka, and he's already working into another one, yeah.
Working into another one. So we're like, all right, this could be cool. We'll make the most of this. So the guy strategically, he immediately turns around like, y'all rock and roll band? I'm like, yeah. Who plays guitar? And Art just fucking beelines for the bathroom and disappears, and he hangs me out to dry, right? So like, mate, hey man, you want to jam? I'm like, no, last thing in the world I want to do is play with anyone. Last thing in the world I want to do. I'm like, oh, I don't have my guitar. It's in the trailer. Cool, bro, I got another one. For about an hour, this guy stands about a foot from my face and demands that I play guitar with him. I've already seen a rifle. It's like 20 degrees outside. So I feel like if I don't placate this guy and play guitar with him, we're sleeping in the snow or getting shot.
Jeez.
So that happened.
So you just had to sit there and play with them for like just play blues riffs?
Yeah, shitty blues riffs. Like it wasn't even like where he was good. Where at some point I was like, okay, I can get into this, and we're jamming. It was awful, dude, like so bad. And then his lady showed up, who I'm assuming is the mother of the kid that was sleeping in the room. At this point, we're already like off in the living room watching TV, trying to crash out. And they start fighting. So we hear like voices, loud voices coming from the bedroom. And then you hear breaking glass. And I'm like, dude, should we intervene? So as we kind of like get up, I'm like, what do we do here? He comes out.
Oh, mind you, you can hear the little kid crying. So it's like a total bummer too. Like the little kid is like upset that the parents are arguing.
Right.
So we're like, fuck, this is a total drag.
Yeah, and mind you, the kid, the big football player kid that brought us, he went to sleep like 3 hours ago. Once he saw his dad was like drinking, he's like, I want no part of this. I'm going to bed. We love you, Audio Karate. You guys can have free reign of the house. We're going to sleep. So the dad comes out after the commotion in the room, mutters some shit, goes to the fridge, and when he goes to the fridge, there's like a piece of glass sticking in his back. He's bleeding. He's fucking bleeding.
Oh, shit.
Like, she stabbed him.
Oh, my God.
So it's like 3 in the morning, and we packed up our sleeping bags and we bounced, dude. We had no destination.
Yeah, it was freezing cold in the middle of the night in Buffalo, like 20 degrees out, and we're like, fuck this, we're out of here.
Yeah, so we just drove to the next town. Surreal, dude. I mean, we can't do it justice right now. Like,
You had to be there.
yeah, you had to have been there, but it was, because there was a mix of like, are we gonna die? What do we do? Do we help, the lady, the kid? No, they're okay. This guy got stabbed. Okay, he could fend for himself, I guess. He probably deserved it. We're out.
You've been listening to Arturo Barrios and Jason Camacho from the band Audio Karate. You can find out more about Audio Karate and their upcoming tour dates at audiokarateisback.com. And trust me, you won't be sorry. Thank you so much for listening to 3 Gigs. This is actually my 50th episode and our Season 2 finale. When I started doing this podcast, my intention was to do at least 50 episodes, and a year later, here we are. Crazy. I hope you've enjoyed the podcast and all the stories my friends and I have been able to tell. I know I've enjoyed sharing these conversations with you all. And I will be taking a bit of a break here, but I don't believe this is the end of the show. There's just so many people left that I haven't talked to with stories to share. Besides, my own band has managed to avoid being on the show, and that won't do. I gotta get them on eventually. So tell you what, let me know what you think of the show and who else you might want to hear from, and I'll see what I can do when Season 3 starts to come together. Until then, you can hear all the episodes as well as see video footage of all the bands, including Audio Karate, on my website at 3gigspodcast.com. That's number 3, gigspodcast.com. And you can find the show on just about any social media platform. Just search 3 Gigs Podcast. If you've liked the show and you use Apple products, please take a moment to give us a review on iTunes. It'll help the show reach new people, and that's never a bad thing. Besides, 50 episodes, man. That's quite a binge. Today's theme song was Nintendo 89 by Audio Karate from the album Space Camp, out now on Kung Fu Records, Wiretap Records, and Hidden Home Records. And we are closing with Jesus is Alive and Well and Living in Mexico by Audio Karate from the album Lady Melody, out now on Kung Fu Records. Once again, thank you so much for listening and staying with the show. Your emails, messages, reviews, and comments are what kept me going, and it means a great deal to me that you stayed with the show all this time. For updates on my own band, Tsunami Bomb, please check out tsunamibomb.net for the latest tour dates and news about our upcoming releases. And if you're a horror and monster movie fan, you can check out my other podcast, Monster Candy Podcast, on the same platform you hear this show. It's a really fun show, and I think you'll like it. You can also find it on monstercandypodcast.com. Well, my name is Dominic Davey. This has been 3 Gigs Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time. When there was